Hey everybody, welcome back to the Mad LiberTEA Party, where up is down, left is right, and the rules don't matter because we're all mad here. And as I like to say, madness is always more fun with friends. And today we have a friend with us. A friend. Um, this is you want to go by Jay or?
Yeah, I go by Jay.
God damn it! This fucking cat waits until we go live and then jumps right up in front of the screen.
Ain't that the worst?
Yeah, would you like to introduce yourself? I mean, like tell them just a little bit about what you do, or who you are, just real quick, and then I'll start
So
grilling you.
okay, all right, I'm ready. I'm ready. Okay, so I'm Jay Flintlock. I used to be known as Flintlock for Freedom. Now I'm my Instagram name is Lever Action for Liberty, and my Twitter is Flintlock Faction. I run a show called the Flintlock Faction. Um, basically, I'm a former correctional officer. I'm a prison abolitionist, and I know that some people kind of get weirded out by that, but I'll explain it in due time. What I mean by prison abolition, or abolishment, I should say. Um, so basically, I used to be in law enforcement, the bastard child of law enforcement, and the system was so corrupt and bad that I rejected it completely and decided to go the opposite direction to the point of anarchism.
So that's an interesting story there, all to begin with. And usually I start out by being like, because most of the people here don't have quite the background that you do, and I'm like, well, how did you get into liberty and stuff? I want to start out like, how did you get into working at a prison? Like, is that
It's
like a
a it's a, it's
normal
a
job you just started, or like I don't
it's
know.
a
A lot of people wonder about how that process works. What
I
makes somebody
actually
want to
had
do that?
I had a super promising career in law enforcement. I when I was 17, I enlisted in the Army National Guard, and I was an intel analyst. And at the time they told me I was going to be like James Bond, do some cool shit. And turns out that I just looked at really or I just made PowerPoints, and I saw
Oh
some
god damn
interesting
it.
stuff. I saw some interesting like secret stuff and blah blah blah. But I wanted to do it full time. I thought that it was the things that I saw on that the secret internet was like really dark, but I kind of used it to justify what I was doing. Like, we're the good guys because there's like super bad people out there. At the time, this was like 2014. That I went to Intel school. It was when ISIS was getting really big, so I was like freaking out about them, and oh my god, they're making like kids kill their whole families and shit. Like, we got to do something. Little did I know that we were funding like 5 of the 6 different armies that were fighting
Yeah.
in that civil war, including ISIS. So thanks, CIA. Um, anyways, I wanted to do it full time. My squad leader told me that if I wanted to join a 3-letter agency, that I would have to get a degree in political science, and that I would have to, do some internships, meet some people. With a little luck and a little hard work, I could get there. And I had all of that. I knew some people, and I bust my ass in everything I do. So when I went to college, I had a couple childhood friends. Their dads worked for Homeland Security. Homeland Security Investigations used to be ICE. Now it's Homeland Security Investigations. I don't know if they went back to it. But anyways, I go there. I was shadowing the analyst, and some of the agents were like, "Hey, you should check out like this shit that we do. This is the real cool guy shit, and you should hang out with us." So I went over. I went and hung out with them, and I went on some you know what are like stakeouts, and I went on a couple observations. I met a couple snitches, and then they showed me all their toys, and it was like really fucking cool, man. Like, they really know how to sell themselves. I don't blame anyone who wants to do that, just because they really fucking indoctrinate you and they really sell that shit. Um, I was dazzled. I was fucking like amazed, and I wanted to be a part of it immediately. And they do sell it. They do sell it like, hey, look at all these people that we're helping. Like, this guy was enslaved as a labor slave. This one was a sex slave, and I wanted to help out. And I didn't think about the fact that they were going back to the place where they were trying to escape from. That again, you do kind of mental gymnastics to justify what you do. So, anyways, I needed a stepping stone job out of college, so I joined my state prison system, and there I was. I tried to do a lot of I try to make programs, like design programs that would help the inmates rehabilitate, because I believed in it, and I tried to make a couple that would help out the COs. Like I tried to make a security threat group task force. In prisons, there are no prison gangs. I don't know if you knew that, but gangs do not exist in prison, which I think is ridiculous.
I did not know that.
Yeah, they call them security threat groups because that sounds better.
So they do exist. They're just called something else so that they don't. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I was like, wait,
no.
There's literally no gangs.
You don't get it. They're not gangs. They're just friends who hang out and do gang-related activities.
Wow.
But, anyways, it's so fucking stupid. I in fact I told my sergeant, lieutenant, and warden that that's fucking stupid. But I digress. I made a security threat group task force, and it got shot down immediately because the captain thought I was going for her job. And even though every other facility in the state has one, so I thought that was my first like encounter of like these guys aren't like really trying to help out the situation, but it's fine. Like, you know what? That's just one incident. So then I tried to make a veteran group, like for by veterans, for veterans, to help veterans rehabilitate. I got a soft spot in my heart for vets. When I was 17, I fell for the same trick, and I continued to fall for it, until a couple years ago. So I have a soft spot in my heart for vets, and that got shut down by the warden himself. He put a bunch of hurdles in my way to make it impossible for me to do. And so then I was like, well, you know what? This place is broken. I'm just going to like try to go somewhere else and do something else. And so, I tried to apply for different jobs. I'm a strong believer in God, and I believe that I think that he intervened so that I didn't get another law enforcement job, because I had a letter of recommendation from the special agent in charge of the branch that, of the Midwest branch of Homeland Security. People were like dazzled by that in interviews, and then nothing came out of it. So I really think that this was, like whatever you believe in, the universe sending me a sign, someone looking out for me, whatever you believe in. Anyways, past my crazy nonsense. I was doing I was stuck on transportation one day. Before we left, transportation detail, what you do is you go from your facility to another facility to pick up inmates and bring them back to yours, to shuffle them around or whatever. And before we left, I was told that we had to release an inmate. It happens frequently at my facility because people go home from my facility. Anyways, so this guy happened to be a chomo. He was a child molester. And me, like many others, have a special hatred in my heart for child molesters. And so he spent a year in prison, and then he had 4 on probation. And, that never sat well with me. And so we let him go. We drove to the next facility over, and then we picked up a couple guys, and there's nothing really to do in the vehicle. It's an hour drive. And so I flipped through the face sheets, and face sheets, what they are, they have the inmate's name, date of birth, gang affiliation, tattoos, yada, yada, yada. And like what they did and how much time they're serving. So two stuck out to me. One, it's this long-haired hippie. This dude's hair was to the small of his back. He was like 60 years old, 55 maybe, like cliche aging hippie, right? 35 grams of weed, 5 years in prison. The other guy who sat next to him in the vehicle beat his spouse, 2 years in prison. So I was like, oh, this is wrong. This is all super wrong. The whole system is fucked. It's all broken. It's all wrong. and I don't want any part of this. And so that's when I I started I talked to a couple other CEOs about it, and a lot of them, two of them are libertarians. They're not as radical as me. And we started together Flintlocks for Freedom. There's an Instagram page, and it was right after the that dude got Swiss cheesed in the UPS truck in Florida, where the cops surrounded him and used people as human shields and just fucking Swiss cheese this guy.
Yeah, that stuff. Fucking Jesus Christ.
Yeah, so that's when we were like, nah, fuck this. This is wrong. And we started Flintlocks for Freedom on Instagram, and I started writing papers for a site called N Block Press, from the perspective of, soon to be now former law enforcement. And they moved on with their lives. They their hearts weren't in political activism like mine. It was kind of just like, hey man, I know that this is wrong, but I can't make my whole life about this. And so then we did a couple episodes. They're kind of the lost show. They're the lost episodes now on my own show, because the quality. Yeah, the quality was bad. Like, the content was good, quality was bad for audio, and we didn't really know how to do this yet. And so anyways, then I got sucked. I went to Twitter, and now I'm going on other people's shows. That's my story. I'm sticking to it.
So, wow, just wow. How do you become an anarchist from all of that, though? Like, what got you into anarchy?
Oh, classic gun porn to anarchy pipeline.
The gun porn to anarchy pipeline. Fair enough.
Yeah,
that's a good.
I've always loved guns, and so I was, you're out in your car, in prison. You're not allowed to bring your phone in, legally, and so you get a couple breaks. And so I went out to my car, and I didn't have anything to do, so I was like, I want to look at cool guns on Instagram, and so that led to, hey, isn't it funny that we can't own automatic guns? And I went, yeah, it is funny. That's weird. And then it was like, we should own automatic guns. And I went, yeah, you're right. And then that led to, like, we shouldn't have a government. And I went, oh, I don't know about that. And so then this radicalization moment happened. I went, yeah, you're right. We shouldn't have a government. But at first it was like, I was a minarchist, but I was a minarchist for like a week. It was like, well, I mean, we should have like something. And then I was like, nah, fuck that.
Nah, fuck that. It gets messed up every damn time.
Yeah.
Well, you made that jump across minarchy much faster than a lot of people do. I've seen people who have taken freaking years to make that jump, and man, I have some friends. I call them mildly statist, that have still not quite come across that yet. And honestly, I'll admit, I don't know if society is 100% ready to just make that full jump. I think a lot of people would die.
I don't think we have that choice. I think I mean, I don't think that the government,
not realistically,
like, in order to like attain a minarchy, we would have to de-escalate the state and then deregulate everything. But I mean, honestly, I think that the collapse is coming. I don't want it to happen. Yeah. I'm not a collapsitarian. I don't want it to happen. Many people will die, just like you said. I would like to go about things peacefully as much as I can until that option is expended or extinguished. Yeah. But I think it's going to be horrible. I think it's going to be horrifying. And that's when you will make the jump from the largest government in world history to chaos to eventually balkanization. And hopefully somewhere in there is some anarchy.
Yeah, I hear a lot of people say probably balkanization and stuff like that. I've also heard a lot of really horrible stories about balkanization in other countries, and I'm not really looking forward for that to happen, but I think that we're not going to have a choice at some point. It's going to be awful. It's just going to be awful. Like, usually I'm so positive and I'm like, yay, we can do this. And I'm just like, and now I'm like, so a lot of people are going to die. I don't want them
I have a question.
But...
I have a question for you. And I've been meaning to talk to someone about this. But what do you think, speaking of balkanization, what do you think about Texas trying to secede? I don't know if they're actually going to go through with it, but what if they do?
Well, I'm a Texan and by birth, technically. Well, I mean, I got there like within the first like month of my life, as far as I understand.
Okay.
So I grew up a Texan, and as many times as people have fucking screamed about it, it's never like gotten so much backing before. And I actually think that at this point, like this is the closest it's ever come to actually happening. I don't know if it's going to or not. At least not before everything gets fucky. But honestly, I think it would be very interesting to see and watch, but I don't also believe that the government would fully allow it. And the last time there
Oh, of
tried to
course
be a
not.
secession, we had a civil war, you know?
Right.
Um, they weren't about to allow that. So I think that if Texas does secede, I think that there's going to be, I think that Big Brother's going to come in, and it's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be pretty. Um,
Do you think it could be used for our
I might be
advantage?
wrong. It could be like in a twisted way. Like I think it going wrong could probably wake a lot of people up because there's going to be a lot of stuff happening there that's going to be really messed up.
Yeah.
Like I
My only
genuinely
worry.
think that our government will turn on like Texas if they
Oh,
do.
100%. My only worry is that people would get caught up in the Texas pride and like fall for another state. I mean, like, man, that's $1 billion propaganda to teach you that we need a state for protection and for legitimacy. And that would be my only worry is that someone would fall into statist trap again and get indoctrinated
Well,
all over again.
Texas has a weird setup. Like I've been to school in different states, and I have never ever been to a state that teaches its kids so much about itself. Um so I mean, like if it does fall to another state, it's going to be the great state of Texas. It's not going to be like, oh, we're going to join Mexico or something. Um
Yeah.
and I don't know. I think that it could happen. There's a whole different extra layer of indoctrination towards the state itself inside the state in Texas that is, I don't know, it turns people into some right assholes. I've been there. Like it took me a while to pull myself out of all of that. Um, a lot of different. I had to live in a lot of different places with a lot of different cultures and stuff because we're taught that we're the best, just completely.
Right. Right.
No matter what. And it's backed up with the fact that like we fly our flag at the same height as the United States flag and other things like that. They focus on things like that.
That's so
Um,
funny, dude. Do you know how many vets would probably be
yeah,
super pissed about that? Like status vets? That's so fucking funny.
yeah, I think that if the state didn't step in, it would be a really interesting experiment to watch. But I just don't think that they're gonna allow it. And yeah, I know vets get all pissy about it and everything, but they do have the right to do that. California and
I mean, they have
Texas
the right
do.
to do anything they want.
Well, aside from that, they have the state granted right to do that too. It's a special situation for the
Oh,
states that were countries prior to joining the United States. That's
okay.
why they fly
Okay.
it at the same height.
Gotcha. And also, I think in Texas's agreement, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think in Texas's agreement to join the union, it stated in their agreement that they're legally allowed to secede without repercussion.
Well, they used to be, but just like we have here, they're no longer allowed to just secede. It is not that they completely lost that. It's that they are not there. The situation under which they can secede is like teeny tiny, and
Okay.
it requires like basically the full house to be cool with it and shit like that. So.
Oof.
I mean, not the full house, but almost, yeah. And it's really hard for Texas to secede now. And they can't just like when I was a kid, they could have just up and just they would have like if when I was a kid, if this shit had happened, we probably would have been our own country real fast, and then the state would have come in and done all sorts of horrible shit to us. We would have been like a larger scale of Waco.
Oof. God. You know, my I talked to this guy. He used to be a host of Burning Boots, but his theory is that Waco was not successful because they were all in one building, and his idea is that if they're spread out in a town or a village setting, that it would be much harder for them to be Wacoed.
I suppose in certain aspects, like it wouldn't be able to be passed off as like we didn't intentionally burn women and children alive, because it would have been
Right.
like, uh, I mean, look at what we did in Vietnam, man. They
They
would have
do still
probably
have their
just
own
pulled some shit
optics.
like that.
They do still have their own optics to look out for, and this is what I Guerrilla
To an
instructor and
extent,
I
it seems
did
like they're
a
almost ignoring all of that these days, though. Like the
yeah.
further
Well,
on this collapse gets, the less they seem to give a shit about what it looks like.
yeah, but that's the thing
If
is
that's
that the
what you
more
mean.
they're escalating, the more people they're radicalizing, and that's what I was talking about with Guerrilla instructor on an episode. I think it was about a potential like um civil situation, so that you know
Situation.
I don't want to yeah I don't want to say the word because like I don't want the algorithms out there to fuck with you. But anyways, um, they still have their own optics to look out for, and that's why Vietnam failed so badly, and that's why we had to leave is because they lost the support of the American people.
Yeah.
Honestly, if they didn't give a fuck about the American people, they could have just fucking glassed it. I mean, they could have. Yeah, you can say what you want about um guerrilla warfare and how effective it is. It is super effective, but that's only because the invading country has to worry about the optics of the world stage and their own people. Um,
Yeah.
Obviously, if that happened here, you can't glass cities, you can't nuke cities because that's your own country, that's your own people, and they'll radicalize against you, and you'll have a country united against you as a government. But
Yeah.
that's the reason that we
I
pulled
mean,
out of
that sounds
Vietnam is
beautiful to
because
me.
they lost or they lost the people's support.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
that does
did.
sound beautiful.
And
Actually, that totally sounds awesome. As a united
like
people against
not with
the
the
regime.
glassing part, but the rest of it sounds beautiful. And I mean, like you're right. The more that they are dropping their optics here and getting more and more bold, um, the more radicalizing it is becoming, and people are. I mean, they're not even all radicalizing in the right way because they haven't had a chance. It's happening so fast, they don't have a chance to think about it.
Right.
Like
It's
you get
like Lord.
people rallying against the police with their with their blue line flags still flying, you know? It gets really crazy about that kind of
Oh
shit, and
yeah,
people don't really
that
know what they
video.
want right now.
That video where they stomp on those fucking Republican guys, man, the MAGA guys, they threw that blue lives flag, the blue line flag on the ground. They stomped on it and said, "You're fucking treasonous. Fuck you. The penalty for treason is death." That shit fucking rocked, dude.
Yeah, it did. It made me have like goosebumps and stuff on my arms and shit.
Oh
I
yeah, dude.
watched more recently after that, I watched a video on like I think it was Jaden X or something. They were showing a video of like what was said to be a Proud Boy, literally just burning the flag in a barrel, and I was just like,
Fuck yeah,
yes,
dude.
yes. And I mean, that's what we were saying last night. We were like, hey, um, I know that not all MAGA people are Nazis, but if you aren't, you need, and they're not all like crazy, radicalized, violent people. But if you're not, you need to start making a statement. Burn those fucking flags. Burn those fucking hats.
Yeah, and you know what? It's like I think you and I talked about it in the DMs, but like you don't have to completely align with me, but if you're radicalized and against the state, like that's great, and we can work with that. We can do something with
Yeah,
that.
we can figure it out from there. All it takes is a common ground, and I think they're absolutely terrified of us all finding that common ground. And to me, that common ground is we're fucking pissed off at the state right now.
Yeah,
Um,
that's fine that you still support Trump. I'm going to celebrate any move that someone makes against the state. Any move, whether that be legally, whether that be illegally, like whatever. If someone makes a move against the state, I will celebrate it and I will praise it.
Me too, so long as it's actually aimed against the state. I mean, like, there are some people out there that have gotten misled and they're just like burning down everything. Or for a little while there were, and I couldn't get behind that. But anytime
No, of
people want
course
to
not.
like go after the state, like I was yelling at them. I was like, stop burning businesses and go back to burning more cop cars.
There was
Like,
like a begrudging symbiotic relationship between Antifa and ANCAPs where they were like the ANCAPs were like, hey, we're going to protect you against the police, but we're also going to protect the small business and we're going to funnel you to the targets that matter.
yeah,
Like, that's fine if you burn a police station. That's fine if you flip a cop car. Please also target the Federal Reserve and the IRS if you wouldn't
yeah,
mind. But you can't attack this mom and pop shop, and you can say anything you want to me, but you're not getting through me. We will
yeah.
protect you, but we're going to protect them too. So I need you to politely fuck off. Like,
Well, yeah,
that was
it's
awesome.
not supposed to be us versus us. It's supposed to be us versus them. And seeing that out there gave me so much excitement. Like, I'm not really an ANCAP or an ANCOM. I've kind of like I was a left anarchist for a long time, and then I knee jerked away and leaned
Right.
towards ANCAPistan, but I kind of like came back into more of a I just don't find it to be I find all those things to be arbitrary. The black on my flag comes first. So much so
Yeah.
that like the rest of my flag's gray at this point.
It's like we said in a previous conversation, like who the fuck cares about economic debates right now? It
Yeah,
doesn't fucking matter because it's all
they're not
theory. Because it
relevant.
doesn't fucking matter until we abolish the fucking state.
Yeah, as far as we are right now in reality, none of that shit is ever gonna fucking happen. You can talk about it and argue about it all you fucking want, but as long as you're letting it divide you against each other instead of the state, you're part of the problem. You've fallen for the divide and conquer tactics that they hold over us.
Right.
And that shit just drives me nuts. As a black flag sitting in the middle with ANCAPs and ANCOMs, just watching them go back and forth, I'm just like, man,
And then there
I wish it was 20
then
years
there
from now because y'all would realize
yeah.
this.
Then there's the lonely mutualist in the middle that's like, come on, guys, like you guys are both stupid. Like there's a better path. All five of those fucks. I love them though.
Yeah,
I might be a mutualist. I'm finding out.
mutualists are cute. I have a couple of friends who are mutualists. They always feel like the third wheel. Like I don't even know. Technically, I think they're kind of lefty, if you ask me, because but they're all man. It's so hard to figure out what the hell a mutualist is. It's like on Dreg or J-Reg or whatever. He had a anarchist thing, and they were like, "What the fuck? You don't even know how to. You can't even explain what you are." And he was like, "Well, um." But
I
it's
like
not
to think of
true.
myself as an ANCAP who's who's a mutualist, curious. Like it's like bi-curious but mutualist curious. Like
Mutualist curious.
I'll dabble in it. Like I'll dip my toe in the water. Like whatever. I thought that mutualist ideology was a byproduct of anarcho-capitalism until I had like a theory talk with a friend of mine, which is always boring and I hate it.
Yeah,
But it has to happen in order to grow.
it has
So
to happen.
yeah. So here I am, mutualist curious.
Mutualist curious. That's what I call
Yeah,
people who look like they're receptive to liberty. I call them liberty curious. We have the liberty curious with us.
that's so funny, man.
But so like when I wanna steer it back towards this whole like prison talk because honestly,
Oh, my bad.
we have had it. No, no, you're fine. Because I wanted to know about that stuff. I wanted people to get an idea of like what you thought and where you were and shit like that. Um, so you were saying that you are a prison abolitionist, which makes sense that you're because you're an anarchist. Most anarchists are anti-prison. I don't think I've ever met an anarchist that wasn't. But how do you define that? Like, because you said that you'd
Well,
get back into explaining that later.
it's so funny you mentioned that because I'm friendly with ANCOMs, like real no shit ANCOMs who are like, yeah, I don't give a fuck about Biden. Fuck the state. Fuck this. I'm still an ANCOM. I've talked with ANCOMs. I've talked with ANCAPs. ANCAPs are like private prisons and private courts, and ANCOMs are like, we're still gonna have our gulags, and I want to slap them with love because that's stupid. Putting people in cages is inhumane, and I don't agree with it.
Yeah,
I've even talked to inmates when I was in, and I my favorite story, and I talk about constantly. I'm sure people are tired of hearing about it if they've heard me before. I talked to this purse snatcher. Great haircut. Dude could cut hair like no one's business. Made me look fucking great. But anyways, he was a really fucking funny dude. He had 20 years in, and he snatched a purse. And I said, "Hey, I think his name was Finley. Finley, if I gave you the option to go back in time, and I just fucking butcher blade cut your left hand off, or both hands off for that matter, or you have to do 20 years in prison, which one would you do? Which one would you pick?" And he said, "Oh, take my fucking hands. Like, that's fine. I probably wouldn't even be physically able to snatch another purse if you took my fucking hands, but I can't get that time back with my family. I would rather have that."
right.
And that really, that really spoke to me. Like, I'm not crazy. This is a better system, a more effective system, and it's what people want, actually.
Yeah,
Obviously, chomos, dig your grave, and then I'm gonna beat you to death in that grave, and then bury you, or I'm just going to fucking pick you up and throw you through that fucking wood chipper feet first. Obviously, I still believe in death. I just think that the victims or people who represent the victims, who the victim chooses to, does it for them. I think that is you're more accountable for that punishment because you're doing it yourself. If
yeah,
someone murdered my wife and I found that, and I hired a private investigator, I found out who the person was, and then I captured that person and shot him in the fucking face. I'm accountable for my justice in which I have dished out. And I know that some of you think like, oh, how can you afford a private investigator? Some people are poor. We're forced right now to pay for all these services
yeah.
that we don't have access
That
to,
don't work for us.
that
Yes.
don't work for us. They work for the state, and we're forced to pay for it. And if you're not forced to pay for it, probably have enough money to do this. The security service in which we're forced to pay for doesn't provide security. So yeah, I'm sure you'd have a little money in your back pocket to pay for a private investigator. Um,
Well, yeah, and we don't have a
anyways,
big giant Uncle Sam creating all this freaking inflation and overhead and everything like that.
right. So instead, fucking no cages, more holes. That's what I love to say. No cages, more holes. Get rid of prison. Let all the non-violent offenders out because they didn't do anything, because they aggressed on no one. Let all of them out. Everyone else face the fucking wall. Like, murderers, done. Fucking, you're done. Rapists, you're good. Like, you're fucking in the ground. Done.
Yeah.
Chomos, I've already expressed my opinion on that. And
Yeah.
I also
Yeah.
I've talked to a lot of inmates where their situations I would have considered a consensual duel. I met this guy. I think his name was Mosley. It's been years since I've worked, or not years. It's been months, and it feels like years since I worked in a facility. But there's this guy. His name was Mosley. He's like this old school OG original gangster, like chill fucking dude. You respect him, he respects you as much as you both can. And this
Yeah.
dude was like, "Hey," he insulted his mother, and this was the '80s. and you don't do that. So this
Yeah,
dude insults his mom, like talking, like I think he said something sexual about his mom in front of his mom, and the dude was like, "Don't say that, like, don't say that shit, don't do that," and he did it again. So Mosley shot him to
yeah,
death with an AK. In my opinion, that's a consensual duel. That man challenged Mosley's honor. Mosley said, "Don't do that. You're challenging my honor, and I don't think you understand what this means." And he said, "No, I do." And that was a gentleman's dispute that was handled. In my opinion,
yeah.
not murder. That's a consensual duel. So, I mean, what do you think?
Well, I think that if we were in a society that allowed for that kind of thing, more people would fucking think about it. Nowadays, people don't think you're actually gonna just haul off and fucking do that, even if you say you will. So, like, we don't have, I mean, I hate to be this way, but society's kind of dumb. Um,
Yeah,
we're consistently trained to believe that we can, poke a bear and it's gonna be okay, which isn't actually true because this thought process doesn't stop people from doing it. The only thing that exists that makes people think that it's okay are the police, and they don't come in ahead of time. They do not just pop up out of nowhere and save your fucking life. They show up after you're dead. They draw a squiggly line around you, and they
yeah.
might solve it.
Ooh,
Um,
call the crackhead next time. Okay,
yeah,
like the crackhead would do the exact same thing. I mean, my TV might be
yeah,
missing, but what the fuck do I care? I'm dead. They can draw a chalk line the same as a fucking cop.
yeah. And at this point, like, I'm continuously telling people you are your first line of defense and your neighbors are your second line of defense. Hell, you might be, like people might actually get there faster than the police would, especially since they care. If you make them care. Like if you're that asshole on the street, nobody's going to help you when someone's robbing you, though. Like that's just fact. I hate how all these ANCAPs are like, well, we would all help each other do this stuff, and I'm like, uh, the nap would we would all defend them and nap together and shit, and I'm like, unless nobody liked that dude, in which case the nap doesn't fucking matter. No one's going to enforce it for him. Like,
I
let's be
will say
realistic
though,
here.
I love the privatize the police movement because it's like, yeah, you know what? That's actually a way that I try to radicalize police that I know still. I still have friends who are cops. I'm not an ACAB guy. I don't think all cops are bastards. I'd say half are bastards because I've met them. And you know what? Half of them were just misguided and wanted to do right by their community as they were taught is how you do right by your community. The other half were either kids who got bullied in high school and wanted to take their power back, or were the bullies and wanted to continue doing so. It's half, in my opinion, and I might be, maybe I'm biased and maybe I'm not, but I think half. Um, so
I
privatize
can
the police.
agree with that, except for the
You
fact that in they may not know any better because they think they're doing good, but they're still bastards. They're just unintentional bastards.
Okay, I can I can get on board with that. If you don't, I mean, how do you know? Does a douchebag look in the mirror and think I'm a douchebag? I'd say half. But anyways, privatizing the police, one, you can afford it because you're forced to do it now, and they're not for you. But if you pay for them directly, are you going to fuck up your employer? No, unless you have problems, and then you're taken care of.
Yeah.
Second, like I said, it's better accountability. Um, my coworkers are going to fucking kill me if I make the brand look bad because their paychecks are on the line. So I'm not going to fuck around.
Yeah.
I fully
If you
support
fuck around, you're
privatizing the
gonna find
police.
out.
Yeah, literally, seriously, the age old saying. But and you know what? Some of them give me weird looks, and I tell them that, and they kind of think about it and have to sleep on it. And some outright reject it, and I pretty sure those are the people who are like, yeah, you're the one who was the bully in high
You're
school
the
or
one
was
that's gonna
bullied.
be the asshole and make everybody look bad.
Yeah, you're one of the half of the people that I talked about, aren't you?
Yeah. That makes perfect sense because they would be the ones that wouldn't want to be held accountable.
Yeah. The same people who don't want qualified immunity. Like, yeah, I know that every single cop that I've talked to is like, oh my God, I'm afraid of qualified immunity, is because they get sued by fucking assholes or people who actually are trying to achieve justice. But some of them, not everyone's perfect, and not everyone suing the police is a fucking saint. But again, not every person suing the state is a fucking money grabber. A lot of them
Yeah.
probably fucking are trying to seek restitution.
Well,
But
it's
again,
kind of funny that
qualified
the good
immunity.
guys who believe in the quote good guys who believe in qualified immunity are afraid, and I'm kind of like, really? Are you telling me that you're afraid of the system that you prop? Like,
Yeah.
holy
So
shit, you're okay with throwing other people into the unfair system, but you don't want to be in it. You want to have a
it's so
safety net.
it's so funny
It's
because one of
hypocritical.
them was like one of the cops. Or I'm still technically in the army. It's why I can't show my face. They fucked up my paperwork. I was
Yeah.
supposed to be out last Friday. But anyways, one of the cops in my
Yeah, and we
unit
don't want to get him in
was like,
trouble.
yeah, one of the cops in my unit was like, you know what? If they end qualified immunity, you know what? Fuck them. We're only going to respond to like violent shit. Like someone's in the process of like getting their house broken into. That's the only thing we're going to respond to. I'm like, that's awesome.
That
You
would be
you should do
awesome.
that now. Like you should do that now. If only life,
Yeah, why wait?
like if only life or health. I wait. Was it life, eyesight, or limb? I don't know. I'm. Anyways, life, limb, or eyesight is threatened. That's the only thing they should fucking respond to. Like you should do that now. That would be great if you already started doing that. And even then
Yeah.
they'll probably shoot your dog, but whatever.
Well, I mean, old habits die hard.
Old
Maybe they'd
habits
be less
definitely die
likely to
hard.
shoot your black neighbor too while they're shooting your dog. I don't know. Probably not
Right.
though.
Hey, you know what?
Like
Maybe they'll maim them. A better police force.
a better
I can't
police
keep my
force, only
yeah,
maimings.
yeah, I can't even keep my fucking face straight, man. That's
Yeah.
fucking hilarious.
Oh man, I
But
can't. No, no. Loki, get down. I'm sorry, y'all. When you have a 40-pound cat, it goes wherever it wants.
yeah, I feel
But
that.
now I got totally distracted from what I was gonna say, and I can't remember what it was because I had a
I'm
large
sorry.
cat butt in my face. He was trying to show
You're
me that he
grilling. You're in
wasn't
the process.
dead.
That's right. You're in the process of grilling me, I believe.
Yes, I was gonna ask you about like, do you think that's enough? Well, I was gonna respond with, well, do you think that's enough of a radicalization, or do you think that it's like a slippery slope? Once they get in there, in the freedom train, they'll start sliding down
I think every
because there's
step
really,
counts, and I think every step should be celebrated. Um, I mean, like every time something gets passed in the House or the Senate, like, hey, we think that the Patriot Act should go away. And if they actually did it, I celebrate anytime someone brings it up. That's great. You should bring it up. You should remind the people that it's still
yeah,
active,
because
and you
people
should try to
don't
get rid
talk
of it.
about it anymore.
Right.
They completely
Anytime
forget about it.
Yeah. Anytime a state legalizes weed, yeah, you know what comes with that? It's heavily taxed, it's heavily regulated, but I'm still going to celebrate it
But there
because
should
it's a
be
step
fewer
towards
people
it.
in prison for
Yeah,
it.
it's a step towards liberty. I'm acknowledging that, and I'm celebrating that, and we should do more of that. Life is short, and we should have positivity in our lives, and we should acknowledge the small victories, however minute and however minuscule they are. We should grasp it and cling to it and celebrate it. Anytime you take a step with a buddy, a family member, your girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever gender they are, anytime that you make a small step of like, you know what, that is kind of fucked up, or you know what, I think you're right. I don't fully agree with that. You should celebrate that. You should praise it because one, they're growing and they're getting towards the right path. And two, you need it for your own fucking sanity, dude. If you're a
Yeah.
pessimist and you're a doomer, you're gonna fucking kill yourself one day.
I'm glad that you said that and said it like that because like there have been a lot of times, especially more recently, anytime they were like about to do something that would be better, I'm like, yeah, well, there's still all this other shit. And that's a really good way to think about it though, because like it's really easy to get overwhelmed right now. And like I
Yeah.
see people out there get overwhelmed, and I'm not overwhelmed, but I can be a little negative sometimes because I'm just so fucking tired right now. I'm so angry, you know.
Yeah.
Um, grabbing onto the and I keep telling people, happiness doesn't last forever. You have to enjoy the happiness that you have while you have it, and as soon as that's over, you can go and find your next one.
This
Because that's
shit's
not going to
dark,
be the
dude.
last bit either. And that's a good man. I'm
Yeah.
so glad you said that because it made me kind of think a little bit too. Because I'm like, wow, I've been doing that. I've been really negative
Yeah.
about this shit.
This shit
Like
is fucking
I
dark. And why do you think we came up with the term boogaloo for like for it's a silly name for a really fucking dark concept. The next American Revolution or Civil War, that's fucking
yeah,
dark as shit. Why do you think we came up with a silly fucking name to call it? Because
that's
like you got to make light
yeah.
of that shit, man. Or else what do you
There's
have? A really depressing idea or an inevitability? Like, Jesus Christ, you might as well fucking kill yourself before it happens because you're already fucking depressed as shit. Like, you got to make light of this shit, and you gotta enjoy the small things.
yeah. No, that's man, that's such a great because we're talking like when I first thought like talking about the prison system and all that shit, it's fucking awful. I fucking hate it. It's another one of those things that I hyper focus on. And like when we do get the free things, I'm like, yeah, well, there's still like hundreds of thousands of people who are suffering right now because of the legal system. Not just
Yeah,
in
political
prison
captives.
though. Yeah, and I mean, like, even when they let you out, they keep your like, what I would consider your human rights, they keep them captive. I mean,
Yeah, that's
also
the
they
thing is that
dangle things like your ability
even
to
when you're
vote,
done,
which is bogus,
yeah, even when
anyways.
you're
But
out, you're still being punished. Like every time you apply for a job, anytime you want to do anything, that hangs over your head. You paid your debt to
yeah,
society. Now pay more. Okay, I can't carry a gun because I'm a felon, or I can't, like you said, vote. I know that voting is stupid and whatever,
yeah,
but some of those people still value that concept, and that's their right
yeah.
to tell them,
The concept of it behind it, it's your voice. They're taking your voice, and I don't care if voting is forced or not. They're still taking your fucking voice.
it's wrong. It's
To,
it's it's wrong, and it's something that you have to live with forever, even though that was like a small mistake in your life, and
I mean,
or
there are ways to get it overturned and get your rights back and stuff like that, but it takes years and years.
right.
And, if you can't go
Matt
out there and
Freeman,
afford a lawyer and stuff,
yeah. Matt
and
Freeman
we've
from the
got,
status quo recently got his
yeah,
gun rights back, but it cost him like fuck, I think a year of his life and like thousands of dollars in lawyer fees to get that right back.
yeah,
One of the many rights that was taken. He still has to put it down on every fucking, job application.
every,
All these felons have to put down like all their information on the line just from one mistake. And maybe it wasn't even that big of a fucking deal. If it's a nonviolent crime, that fucking shit hangs over your head forever. It's wrong.
yeah, it is. And they'll come back and put you back in prison for it. Like, you could be like Cameron, which I keep bringing up because I want nobody to forget about this shit. Like, he wasn't even in the prison system. He just had a little slip up. But like, there are people out there who can't carry guns to defend themselves, and they want to, like, exercise their 2A, and they will use that to fucking put you back in prison just for exercising your right to self-defense. Period. Like, as long as this fucking felony system works the way that it does, or at all. To me, at all. But any change is good, like you said earlier. So long as it is in its current format, they're literally stripping what makes you human, like your
Yeah.
human rights to self-defense. That's a part of what makes you human. And I mean, like, they're delegating bits and pieces of our various human rights back and forth every fucking day, and we don't get a chance to vote on those things. we put the people in there, but they make whatever decisions they want, and we're
I
not holding them accountable either.
I if you as the audience are serious about, like, if you're interested in this message and and I actually reached out to you, um there and pardon the shameless self promotion, but I have two
No, go
episodes
for
out.
it.
They're my last two episodes, and they're the most important ones that I've done so far, in my opinion. And there's one with Matt Freeman from the Status Quo,
They're
and
good
he talked
ones.
about he. I appreciate that. Thank you. That he talks about his time in prison, looking back on it, and me, me being a former correctional officer, him being a former inmate. It's a lighthearted, it's fun. We banter back and forth, but the message is important. The second one is a bit darker. It is a current inmate in the system. He talks to me on his burner phone from behind bars in the Mississippi prison system, and I know that you and I, Mike, talked about this a little bit about the Mississippi prison system,
Yeah,
but it's fucking bleak. It's fucking it's the shit that happens behind those bars is fucking heinous. And and if you have any interest in prison abolishment, I urge you to listen to those episodes. I urge you to really research about the shit that happens in prison, because it's fucking
yeah,
terrible.
it is. They strip your humanity from you there too. They treating you like animals, and uh, I mean, like some prisons are nicer than others, but to be honest, like I don't understand how anybody could think that that was a correctional thing. Like, nobody is learning or changing or anything like that. To me, and you could probably answer on this, I don't know. It seems like when people go into prison, they get worse.
Oh, 100%, because they have this mentality of, like, I have to join a gang. Excuse me. There are no gangs in prison. Security threat group. I have to join a security threat group, and I'm sure that's what they call it because they know that they're not allowed to join a gang, and of course they follow the rules. They have to join a security threat group in order to survive, and so they join things like the family values white supremacist gang, who rape old people because they're easy targets, and steal from old people because they're easy targets, and they have to do that to survive. And they think that, and they're coerced into it more often than not. Gangster disciples love to recruit from prisons because they have this initiative. Anytime there's a gangster disciple in prison, they have an initiative called the Brothers of Struggle Initiative, and if they call on it, every gang unites against whoever's not in the gang and the correctional officers. And so you're kind of
Oh
like,
wow.
well, I don't want to be on the other end of that. I got to be involved in this. And so
Yeah.
you're made to do things that you might not be proud of. And if you're a criminal, it makes you a better criminal. If you're not a criminal, it makes you a criminal. If you are already a criminal, it makes you a better one. And you know, it's I can't I don't know how else to express that. It's just fucking it's immoral. It's like disgusting. Um, it took me a long time to look myself in the eyes in the mirror, just because I was a part of it. It's a horrifying. It's a horrifying. You know, assault on humanity. I can't. I don't know how else to describe it. Maybe you think I'm a dramatic, but I mean, fuck. If you don't believe me, fucking apply and see it for yourself. I don't recommend it, but I mean, hell, if half of you want to do what you claim that you want to do from behind a keyboard, you will be forced to see it for yourself. And that's what I do. That's why I do this. I want to prepare you guys. One, I want to show you that this is wrong and this is what the state does to people and this is what the state does to its own citizens. Two, I want to prepare you because this is where you're going, man. Uh,
Yeah. With any and that sounds like extreme and stuff like that, but it's really not. Like a lot of the thing, like I know a lot of practicing agorists and shit like that, and they're not hurting anybody. But if the state catches them outside working outside of the system in the gray and black markets, that's where they're going to be. Um, and it seems like the tighter the fist grows, the fewer things you can do that will keep you out of prison. And so any of the free folk, like almost all of them, do something that would put them in. Unless they're all full of talk.
Unless
And
you're all full of talk. There are plenty of that in
yeah,
this community, the
yeah,
LARPers.
yeah, yeah, the LARPers. Unless you're a LARPer, you're gonna end up facing that, or you already know. I'm not telling anybody anything they don't know. And if you don't know yet, if you're like into doing things freely, I suppose, you need to wake up to it, because that is what we're facing. That is why I think so many people who are serious um reach out to each other and try and network and not be alone, aside from the constant gaslighting from society. But like, it's scary, and that is what people are facing. And I hear more often than not, a lot of people out there are like, I won't be arrested, I will not, I will not. And we all know what that means.
I'm one of them. I can't go to prison.
Yeah,
I can't.
I'm not going in a cage. I was held captive by my own fucking family for so fucking long. I've been in too many situations where I didn't have power over myself and over what I did and stuff like that. I will never let the state do that to me. I will
Sometimes
fight
it's not
tooth
an
and
option, though,
fucking
you
nail.
know?
Yeah, there are moments like there
yeah.
are some people who don't have a choice. If I have a choice, I will not.
Resurrecting Freedom brought up from the e-militia from Instagram, if you know him, brought up a great point. Sometimes that's not an option. Sometimes they get you when you're not expecting it. Sometimes you don't have the choice. And so it's really, it's not, are you willing to die for this cause? Are you willing to give years of your life for this cause? That's the question you should be asking yourself. Because sometimes it might not be up to you.
Yeah. And I guess, as we said, it's not just years of your life. Are you willing to give up shreds of your humanity?
Yeah, that's a more accurate way of putting it, because they do strip you of your humanity. That's actually something they teach you like straight up in the academy. Like, these are not people that you're dealing with. My wife still remembers when I said they're not people, they're inmates. And I was completely serious about it.
God, I hope this episode doesn't scare a bunch of people away from liberty.
Oh, I know. Or at least scare them away from me. Oh my gosh, I don't think that anymore. Of course, they're people. Some of them are people. The nonviolent ones are people, and I still think thieves are people. Some of them aren't malicious. Some of them really are desperate. But chomos are not fucking people, and you should fucking slaughter them when you see them. Fuck child molesters. You should hatchet them to death, fucking Rwanda style, if you see them. But anyways, I digress. My wife still remembers whenever I said, yeah, they're not people, they're inmates. Like, whatever. They teach you to treat them like fucking zoo animals when you join the prison system. Fuck, even some of my friends who I've radicalized personally will slip up and do that shit still and correct themselves.
Well, I imagine that when you treat people that way for so long, they behave that way too, and it becomes self-perpetuating. If you don't handle them like hungry tigers, you might get fucked up. I don't know how serious that is. Like, does that happen to people? Like, do they come in trying to be like positive and treat them like people, and something bad happens? Or
oh fuck no, you have to adapt to survive in prison.
Does that get like torn out of them?
There's a story. There's a book. It's called Downing a Duck, and so it's a study on how to turn correctional officers corrupt so that they can work for you. And it's a book written by correctional officers for correctional officers, but it's a step-by-step guide on how they get dirty. And I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do to survive, man. Like, I don't blame any inmate who makes the attempt, dude. Like, of course I'm gonna like, if I'm sentenced to 5 years for, I don't know, making illegal machine gun parts, I'm not going to get laid for 5 years. That means I'm definitely gonna try to like have sex with a female CO, no matter how gross she is or whatever. I mean, I fucking talk about that with Matt on when he looks back on his time. He's talking about how this nurse was a fucking, you know, not the best looking lass, but you know, whatever. She got $100 every time she fucked an inmate, and people paid. Like that. I
Wow.
mean, if that's your only option, that's your only option. I'm definitely going to try to turn a CO dirty to get the things that I need so I can live. I mean, being a model inmate's fucking damn near impossible. Next to people threatening
I
you,
mean,
people trying to steal from you, not not being inebriated when you're used to being inebriated. I mean, fuck, like I'm drunk right now. I'm not drunk, I'm kidding, but like, I've had a couple drinks. I talked to you about that. I my wife comes home and smokes a blunt to decompress from the day. I mean, you're used to certain things in life, and plus they feed you fucking horribly. The portions are next to nothing, and they pack it full of protein pellets and vitamins so that you can live. You got to do certain things in order to survive in prison, and some of that is it's hard without the help of a CO being dirty. So there's whole books dedicated to it. There's whole studies dedicated to it, and fuck, inmates have mastered it, and they get
yeah.
better every day because all they have to do is time to think. Um,
Well, and like like Boogeyman said here, that he knows that some people that are so institutionalized that they commit petty crime because they can't deal with it on the outside, and then like it creates a vicious circle and stuff. Like that kind of living where you have to like change and rip off pieces of your soul, to be like this to survive. Like when you get out, you don't fit into society anymore. And I've seen that from a different angle. Like being a homeless raggarty nomad, and like not being interested in not being able to get into the white market at first. Like made me to where when I did try out of desperation to want to fit into society for a short period of time, I couldn't. Like I didn't have the mindset. I could not function. And so like to me that seems very realistic. Like I can't imagine what kind of person you become in prison, and then when you're out you're trying to regain your humanity and shit like that again. Like that's
that that's
hard.
That's funny that he mentioned institutionalization because I talked with that inmate that I talked to on my bonus. I asked him like, "Hey, do you think that you're institutionalized? Like, if you were let out tomorrow, do you think you can make it?" He said, "Fuck no, dude. Like, a lot of us can't. Of course not. You are not set up for success. They have these programs in there that will set you up for success, quote unquote, heavy quotations. Because." Everything that the government does is either an overcorrection or a half-assed, lackadaisical fucking wave in the breeze.
Yeah.
And what we're going to see now from these Trump protests is going to be a crackdown overcorrection. They banned the sitting president from Twitter. That's an overcorrection. They're going to crack down on a lot of us for government dissent. But what you see in prison
Yeah.
is a half-assed lackadaisical wave in the breeze. Yeah, we're going to do this so that it's a check mark on the box so that we can say that we're helping you rehabilitate, even though it does nothing. Um, and anyone who has any ideas to make your lives better or to help you out in your process, we're going to brand them a hug a thug. Instructions written on the box. That means you're soft on inmates. We're going to brand you a hug a thug.
Oh,
We're going to shame you into either quitting or have a miserable day every single time you come here. And we're going to reject that idea, or someone's going to steal it for their own and fucking bring out a bastardization version of it, just to beef up their resume, or you know make them look good, or again, market check on the box. We're doing everything
yeah.
we can. We're doing everything that we
Did
can
you
to help out these inmates.
um creating this cycle and stuff like that? Did you work in a prison that had I know that a lot of prisons have like industrial type contracts. And what some people may not know, I know that a lot of people know this, but there is a minimum capacity clause in a lot of these contracts with prisons and stuff like that. Um, and they pay you pennies. Like just it's bullshit. Like they're last time I looked into it, there was a state that paid people as little as like 23 cents an hour.
So I didn't work in one of those facilities with an industrialized contract, but I do know about them a little bit. But what I can tell you is that in the every inmate in Missouri gets 725 a month, and that is if you don't have a job or you have like a minimum, like everyone has to have a job. This is your job type job. Every
Yeah,
inmate gets 725. If you get one of these like privileged jobs, you're a model inmate. You don't have very many violations, if not any, on your record. You get a privileged job. It's work release, and you get to go outside the wire. You have the privilege of picking up trash on the freeway, and you get paid 725 a day, not an hour, a day. And so,
wow,
yeah, it's fucking slave labor, dude. It's slave labor
yeah.
for like indentured servitude wages.
Well, yeah,
It's wrong.
they,
It's a prison industrial complex, and I know that people hear about the military industrial complex all the time, and more recently the pharmaceutical industrial complex. This is the prison industrial complex.
yeah. And like some of these jobs, they'll let you go out and risk your lives. And like, I know that in California, I did the math for this, and
You gonna talk about the
oh shit.
firefighters?
Yeah, I did the math for this, and these guys
Yeah,
make like $330 some odd dollars a year to go
yeah,
out there and fight
and
these dangerous firefighting these fire jobs. And now when they get out, they can't become firefighters either. Like they've been trained to
that
be
was so
firefighters. Yeah,
fucking unjust, dude. I didn't find that out until after these most recent fires. You can't after you've done this for years, you can't go out and do the same job that you were getting paid 725 for. What the fuck? And some of them reoffend so that they can do that. So that they can
yeah,
get
and
the quote unquote privilege to do the same thing. They will fucking reoffend to do that shit. That's the saddest fucking thing I've ever heard of, man.
yeah, and like I saw a lot of people out there being like, they should be paid as much as the regular firefighters are paid. And I was like, okay, well, what's an entry level firefighter paid in California, right? And I went and looked this up because there were a lot of people in response saying, well, only if they take out the amount that it costs for them to live, so that we're not paying for prisoners to live. And then they're getting this nice paycheck and everything, right? So remember that $300 a year that they make, um, basically based off of the amount that I don't have the exact numbers in my head here, so I'm kind of like half-assing it because I'm gonna tell people. I mean, I wrote this all down and made a big post about it on social media because it was fucking heinous. But that's fine. That's fine. Even if we did take the price that it costs to house an inmate for a year in California out of beginner, like a brand new firefighter salary, we owe them almost $20,000 a year at least.
Oof, Jesus fuck.
We're
Oh,
stealing from them at this point. Like it's
yeah,
fucking it's bad.
it's indentured servitude.
And the
There's no better way to say it. This is
I'm
serfdom.
sorry, no, it costs almost $20,000 a year. We owe them like $40,000 a year. I'm sorry, this is California. I got that backwards. But it's still bad. Like it's horrible. And the fact that people outside are able to get in their mindset, it's okay to do, like it's literally okay, they're telling themselves and other people that it's okay to use human beings as slaves. Um and our outside government indoctrination that raises us, and it makes it possible for us to just turn an eye to not only people being turned into worse people instead of some sort of corrections, um, but like we're literally using them as slaves. There are hundreds of thousands of people in the prison system today. America has the largest prison system in the world, I believe.
But we're
Um,
a free country, dude. I don't know what you're talking about.
yeah, it's land of the free, home of the slave. Not to
I
steal a line
love
from
that.
somebody
I
I like
love
to
that saying.
watch. I love that guy that says that all the time. I can't remember right now because I'm really bad with names. I'm just really, really bad with them. I'm horrible with names. I need to have a list of names in front of me if I want to mention some people. Um, unless I like actually know you or I've met you and talked with you a bunch of times. I'm not gonna remember. Friedman, I think, says that all the time. But like, yeah, that's what it is. We're the land of the incarcerated at this point. And it's just it's heartbreaking. And I I I wish there were more people out there. Like we have several groups that are focused on inmate rights and stuff here. And like with the COVID going on and everything like that, it's brought a lot more attention to the uh the way people are being treated. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's great. I don't have faith that a lot is going to change because unfortunately, when normies get involved with shit in mass, they're gonna have something put in front of them and they just roll over and start forgetting about it. And right now, they do have something else in front of them, like the media and the government is telling them that there's going to be an insurrection any moment. And so, my more negative side, my more real side is like, well, there goes that.
Yeah.
But there's got to be more ways to help people. And honestly, the only thing I can see fixing this at this point, because the corporativists and the statists, the corporations have created this marriage with the state, which is corporativism,
Yeah.
and these prisons feed them. They make things like for almost nothing. And like I guarantee you've bought them if you take part in the white market at all. You've probably come across some stuff and bought it. You are living off of slave labor, and you can't deny that. It's one of the reasons why I'm so heavily against using the white market. Aside from the fact that when you pay taxes, that goes to like killing small children in other countries. I'm not okay with that either. But
What
it's just
genocide?
we've yeah, it's these days it's so hard to find something positive, to go out and forth with, when you have to look at these things. But I think that everyone should look at these things. It's time to get fed up and say I can't do this anymore. Um, I just wish that more people would be willing to, I guess. Does it make you sick to know that a lot of this is perpetuated just because other people don't want discomfort? They don't want to
Dude,
struggle.
dude, I fucking served the state. Like, I served them. Like, from the age of 17, I wasn't even a fucking grown adult yet, and I signed a legal document, legally binding document with the fucking federal government as their fucking not only as their fucking as a soldier in their regime, but a fucking spy for them. Dude, I served them for like 8 years, man. Like, I only just was able to look at my own reflection in the mirror once I realized what I was doing a couple months ago through a lot of personal like healing, a lot of alcohol, a lot of regretting alcohol, and a lot of like talking with my wife. Yeah, of course it makes me fucking sick. Like I just stopped hating myself not like recently.
Uh, well, I didn't mean to make you feel bad. I hope you didn't feel too
No,
bad
no,
about
no.
it. But I mean, also,
I can
don't
I can
forget
look on
that,
it.
you know?
Yeah, I can look on it positively now. I can look on it positively now. I want people to know this because a lot of people think like, well, maybe I could do this and that's not that bad. And I know it's part of the state, but it's not that bad. No, dude, you will fucking hate yourself. And I urge you to
Yeah.
seek any other means of money,
Unless
attaining
you're
of
specifically
anything.
there for praxis,
Oh yeah, hands down. I'm a fan of what is it? Slacktivism. I think that was in a subversion and sabotage book. Slacktivism's awesome, and I urge
what
you
is
and I urge you to do it.
slacktivism?
Slacktivism
What do
is
you mean by that?
join. It is so like I have a friend who is involved in slacktivism in his local police force. He does the job. He understands what the job means, and he does it poorly on purpose because he's against it. He is sabotaging it from within.
Oh, that's cool. Well, I like slacktivism too, but like also like I've met people who work like with human services and stuff like that. And instead of trying to perpetuate the cycle of people needing the state to exist, they literally forcefully almost, because like you said, trying to help people and stuff like that, their own departments will work against them. Like
A
they
100%.
literally had to come up with something that was so good, and they had to be so lucky and have so many people on their side to be able to get this to happen. But like they've created situations where locally they can work with people to get them out of that cycle. That too,
Right.
it's harder. It's way harder than selectivism, I imagine. But like if you can do it, then do it, because we
It's
need to bail as
exhausting
many
though.
people out as possible. And it is. It's gonna be exhausting. It is exhausting, and I feel bad for people because like it burns people out. Um,
I was a
Activism burns
slacktivist for a
people
year and
out.
a half when I was still working in prison. I was still trying to get a new job, and when your only job skills are beating people up on behalf of the state, it's hard. It's not a very well looked at job skill for the private market and not law enforcement. So I was involved in
Yeah.
slacktivism for a year and a half. It's fucking burns you out, man. It makes you fucking sad. Makes everyone around you hate you.
Well, I mean, at least you were doing something though, right? Um,
Yeah.
so like I know we're getting on in there and I didn't want to keep you for too fucking long, but I wanted to ask you about like what made you decide to do like social media and podcasting and stuff?
Guilt.
Because
I had to
guilt,
in order to live with myself. Yeah. I mean, at the time when I started this, I was still in prison, and I couldn't fucking look at myself. I was disgusted with everything that I did in the past 8 years.
you had to speak.
I had to. It was a form of therapy, and it was a form of like I can live with myself if I actively work against what I'm currently employed as. And eventually shit got easier, and now it's honestly it's turned from a therapeutic hobby into like this is all my fucking time now. Like, um, I mean, I this is the only thing that I do when I'm not hanging out with my wife. If I have free time, I think of different papers to write. I think of different episodes to do, and I think of different things to post. When there's a lull at work, I go on Twitter. When come back home, I go on my burner phone. I go on Instagram. It's the only thing I can access Instagram from. Um, fuck, man, like I'm in an open relationship and I don't even look for a new girlfriend, because it will take
Wow.
time away from my activism. Like this is it now.
I
Like,
feel that's so hard because people are like, "Well, don't you ever want to be with somebody?" And I'm like, maybe when people are freer, I can fucking think about that. Like right now, I can't. I don't have time,
yeah,
and
sex has lost
I
its
don't
allure
mind
to
it.
me.
I think there's a certain part of activism that's kind of almost addictive, just like freedom. And like some of like, does it help you? Does it act like I know you say it's out of it was out of guilt that you started. Does it help?
It was at first out of guilt. Now it's like literally a burning drive. But yeah, it helped. It helped me live with myself. Um, I think honestly, like I've talked to friends, I've talked to family, and they notice a visible change that I honestly think that it helped change
Good.
my attitude, change my whole life.
I mean, I kind of get that. I didn't really work with the system or anything like that, but I haven't always been the best person myself. And like, also finding out exactly what we are propping up and shit like that, that brings guilt. I think it's hard for some people to face that. Like, if they have to admit that all of this stuff is a problem, then they have to realize that they've been doing it all their lives and perpetuating it. And so, like, there's a little bit of guilt behind what I do. I want to make things better than what they have been, which turned into a drive, like you said. Um, do you do you ever get like overwhelmed by it though? I mean, like I spend so much time doing stuff that like I know that some of my friends are like, "Wow, you're too radical. You're just too in this. Like I can't even fucking talk to you anymore." And I'm just like, "I'm sorry, man. I don't know what else to do."
Well, that's the thing. I'm I'm oh fuck, words. I
You
have
get past
been
this in 20 years
equipped.
and all your friends will all be activists. That'll be
Yeah.
it.
Hey, that's the daydream, man. No, you know what, man? I've been kind of given the tools to talk to people. I was actually talking to a coworker today about how we as a community need to be more personable, need to be people. And honest, that was corrections. Corrections, you needed to know how to talk to inmates. You needed to know how to get inside their heads. You need to know how to communicate with them and get the things that you need to, like the information that you need to know about
Yeah.
them. Whether that be, I mentioned CIT in the last show I was on. CIT is crisis intervention training. It is a minimum minuscule amount of mental health training in order to be able to talk to inmates to figure out what's wrong with them, like recognize signs of distress and figure out what's happening with them mentally. And so, um, that's the whole job is like, hey, this is a way to beat around the bush to find out what the actual core problem is. I have also been in debate, a political science major, and I've been given the tools without knowing what my purpose in life was. I was given the
Yeah.
tools to do that. And so just learn how to fucking talk to people. Like, don't come out. I'm not talking about you specifically. You're very
Well,
easy
yeah.
to talk to. We talked before and you're fucking laugh riot. But anyways, people who are basement dwellers, learn how to fucking talk to your fellow man before you talk about liberty. Learn how to shoot shit. Learn how to fucking, talk about the game. If you don't know about sports ball, fucking tune into some, banter, and then maybe you can use that to fucking
Yeah.
weasel your way into a talk about liberty. I do it all the time. I
Yeah.
trap my friends and they roll their eyes whenever I do it, but I will trap them into a conversation. I will fucking
Yeah.
bait them
I
into a
me too.
conversation.
You get I
But
think that that's an acquired skill. Honestly, like if any of you
it
guys
takes a lot of
are
practice.
wanting to learn more about how to talk to people and stuff, there are people all over YouTube that will teach you these things. One of my favorites to hand out to people is Charisma on Command because they make it very relatable by picking like famous people and stuff to use as examples and junk. Um, you guys get out there and watch some of that. Like you've been behind the computer this whole time, spend some of it learning how to communicate with other people and stuff like that. Um, and that goes for just people who have anxiety, like social anxiety and stuff. I've seen that doing that and studying it a little bit will help. It'll take you a long way. It'll put you ahead of these days with everybody who has social anxiety and afraid to talk to each other and shit. It'll put you ahead of the game by like a bazillion miles. When I was younger, it wasn't like we weren't so locked into the computers and stuff like that. People still had to learn how to communicate with each other like that. Now all you have to do is like you go find the affinity groups for yourself and block anyone you don't like. So nobody learns how to
You
talk to
definitely
each
should
other
block
anymore.
people. I learned that the hard way. I was just telling Mike here that I just got off a back-to-back 12-hour ban from Twitter. Block people who don't like you. I'm stubborn.
Yeah,
I don't like to do it because I want to give the message to everyone.
I am
But
too. It's really hard for me to block, but I'll
you
eventually do it.
you should 100% block people. Wrong decision, and I
I
fucking suffered
love
for it.
I love the mute function.
Oh,
Like there are some social
also good
media
option.
things that have the mute function where you don't get pinged by the person, so you're not like, God damn it, and you feel like you need to say something. No, just put them on mute and go about your fucking day. Go
But if
outside,
they will report, if
pet the
you
cat,
think they'll report
whatever.
you, block that shit.
Mute and block
If
them.
you
Yeah, if you think that they will report you and get your voice shut down, because that's a big fad in our society these days. Taking each other's voices away. Block the shit out of them.
Yep. But
Because
I will
that
have to.
also happened to
Yeah.
us too.
Yeah, that's true. We both got blocked, or we both got blocked. We both got banned at the same time. That's blocked
Yeah.
or band buddies. Jesus, I can't fucking talk tonight. I'm sorry, man. I did not. I didn't. I'm tongue tied on your show, and that's fucking yeah. But
Well,
I
God,
will
that's
have to
all
go
you got,
soon.
man. You don't even have your pretty face on the screen or anything like that. So, I mean,
I know. I'm so sorry. Is there any more
no, and
questions for me?
um,
From the
I
fans,
don't
from
know. Do
you?
any of you guys out there have any questions? For the most part, it seems like everybody out here is saying the stuff that we're saying, and I tried to like bring up some good points that people made along the way. Um, Honestly, if you guys, we're both on social media, and if you want to continue that conversation, you can definitely do that. You can come and find any of us. Like, um, I put
Yeah, hit me up.
the
I'm not
Twitter
like Michael
and
Malice. I'm not a dick to people. I'll answer anything, and I'm ashamed of my past, but I've learned from it, and I will definitely answer questions about it.
And he's really easy to talk to too. As nice as he's been about how easy I am to talk to, like we ended up like talking for way longer than I meant to when we were. I mean, that happens to me too because I talk a lot, but it was a good.
If you could deal
He's
with my
cool.
dumbass
Um,
scatterbrain, that is.
hey, look, people deal with my dumbass scatterbrain. I'm sure they can deal with your dumbass scatterbrain too. I
But anything
wanted
else, dude?
before we left, I wanted you to talk about like plug your show, tell them what it's about, where they can find it,
Oh, right.
and how often and stuff you do it and stuff like that. And also tell them about where they can find your writings and stuff.
So I my show is the Flintlock Faction. I like alliterations, so a lot of my shit's alliteration, and don't shame me for it because I will attack you for it. But
I won't.
anyways,
I
the
put
Flintlock Faction.
alliteration and puns together, so
My Instagram is Lever Action for Liberty. My parlor, when it gets back up, is Flintlock for Freedom. I know that it's an op, but that's the way that you reach conservative boomers, and I will fight for
yeah.
everyone.
We
My
have
Instagram.
one too.
Sorry. Oh, you do?
Oh, I was
Okay,
just
cool.
agreeing. Yes, we have a parlor.
It's a fucking op, but like, whatever. I don't
It's
post
there,
anything
but
crazy on
yeah.
there. And then my Twitter is the Flintlock Faction, or is Flintlock Faction with no A in it. They limited me on characters. Fucking Twitter. What are you gonna do? My essays are on N Block Press. You can find them, and you can. I mean, just N Block Press, ENBLOCPRESS, and then of course my writer name is Jay Flintlock. Actually, Lee Enfield, my editor, named me. He came up with my writer name, and I've just carried it
Oh,
ever
really?
since. Yeah, Jay Flintlock. And so you can just find my writings there. I'm trying to. I got creative. I got a what is it? Creative inspiration today. I think I'm going to write another one soon. My papers come out when they come out. That's the only way to say it. Whenever I get creative inspiration, I write, and they come out randomly. They used to come out once a month, and I stuck to that for a while, but now they don't. Sue me. My episodes come out when they can too. I try to keep it once a week, or at least once every 2 weeks, but I've had lulls, and I try to keep it consistent, but I won't be consistent. So good luck.
Yeah, I mean, it happens. I'm having a lull right now with my daily show. Like I haven't done it in like weeks because I got really sick. And it's
How
hard to
dare
keep
you
up
get
every
sick?
damn day. I know, yeah.
How
Like I
dare
got
you?
sick and then now we're doing J17 stuff all the time and everything, so like I have no time whatsoever, no time. But I'm trying. Honestly,
You're
I
actually a
want to
bad
get
person for that.
lol. Dude, if you're out there and you're watching, I would like to get you hooked up to the Tree of Liberty website and start writing there too, because I think that that
I'd
would be a
love
great
to.
place for the kinds of stuff. So if you're out there watching, get with this dude, and they lost their Twitter too, so they're gonna have
Really?
like yes, they did too. For the same reason I got locked down, they got shut down. Um,
Wow.
it's yeah, they're really after people trying to go out there and clarify and talk about J17 and stuff like that right now. It's crazy. Um, but honestly, I want to thank you for coming on the show and give you a chance. If there was anything else that you wanted to say that you didn't get a chance to say, pop it out right now.
Dude, I
Otherwise,
appreciate it. I appreciate you having me on.
I really appreciate you coming, and I hope that in the future we can have you back, maybe for some more like hard focused discussions or something like that. Anything comes up and you got something coming up that's really cool and you want to share it, hit me up. We'll drag you on and let you like tell people about it or whatever, because I really enjoyed this. And if you
100%.
guys really enjoyed this too, or if you fucking hated it or whatever, get down in the comments, pass it around, and get out on our social medias, and I'm gonna get the rest of the links from his and edit them down into the list below. And but when as soon as we get out of here, I'm gonna do that. And if you like what we do here at Mad Liber Tea Party and you want to support it, you can do that with either those share, like share everything. But if you have time, come and dedicate that time. Like we have a team of people who work here, and some of them upkeep the communities online. Some of them do behind the scenes tech work. Some of them like go out and film their own audits. We have like all sorts of different kinds of people here at the Mad Liber Tea Party. And if you want to get involved with our team and start creating shit with us instead of by yourself, you're welcome. No, it's not a fucking collective. God damn it. But if you don't have any time, you can always get into our Subscribe Star or our PayPal with your dirty, filthy white market money, and you can get into our Coinbase down below and give us crypto, even if it's dirty, filthy white market crypto. Ugh. But
You do take blood money, I guess.
yeah, we will take the blood money. We will use that blood money to abolish the state at this point. Like we put that we pay the bills to keep um our face here on the internet. And after that, every bit of it goes into the Liberty Fund, which then gets filtered back into the Liberty movement in any way that we possibly can. If somebody needs gas to go to a freaking action to get some good stuff done, we will give them gas. Like if somebody needs like supplies for something, we will donate that. Like if freedom fighters get thrown in jail, we like to put the money in the bail funds and stuff like that. Bit here, bit there. So help us do that. One way or the other, you can always get into our. Ugh, try and stay away from the Discord. Discord is fucking horrible. I'm not going to encourage people to get on it. We do have one though, but what's better? We have a matrix. Get on there and in our public rooms and get to know people and join the conversation. Relearn how to fucking talk to people who don't always agree with you. It's it's a skill that we all need. And I want to thank you again for coming, dude. I hope that we get to show you around some more. And I hope that, I hope that all of you guys start listening to his podcast because it's nice. I didn't actually know they had a podcast. I just thought they were somebody on Twitter. And
I appreciate that.
when we ended up like reaching out, I was like, oh my God, they have a podcast. So I started listening to it and I was just like, oh, you guys got to listen to this stuff. I mean, he's right. Some of it's dark, um, but it's shit that needs to be said. And it's very eye opening and it keeps me remembering what's going on out there and what we're fighting against. So I hope you guys have a good week. I have no promise of what the shows are going to be like this week leading up into J17. We're going to do what we can. I hope that we can get. I have a little video that I'm going to put out about J17 that's very short and to the point, and that'll probably be out tomorrow. I keep putting it back one day because things keep happening, but necessary evils, y'all. I hope to see you guys in the next episode. If nothing else, on Monday. Um, Until then, you guys, fuck safety, stay free, be bold, live, make it to the next one. This episode of Mad Liberty Time is fucking adjourned.
No cages, more holes.